Hello friends, I am Aditi. Welcome to my channel Library Mouse. Today I am going to read a book, How to Develop Self-Confidence and Influence People by Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. This book contains 12 chapters, so let's continue with chapter 4. How to remember dates. Dates can best be retained by connecting them with important dates already firmly established in the mind. Isn't it far more difficult, for example, for an American to remember that the Suez Canal was opened in 1869 than to remember that the first ship passed through it 4 years after the close of the Civil War? If an American tried to remember that the first settlement in Australia was made in 1788, the dates is likely to drop out of his mind like a loose bolt out of a car. It is far more likely to stick if he thinks of it in connection with July 4, 1776 and remembers that it occurred 12 years after the Declaration of Independence. That is like screwing a nut on the loose bolt it holds. It is well to bear this principle in mind when you are selecting a telephone number. For example, the writer's phone number during the war was 1776. No one had difficulty in remembering it. If you can secure from the phone company some such numbers as 1492, 1861, 1865, 1914, 1918, your friends will not have to consult the directory. They might forget that your phone number was 1492 if you gave them the information in a colorless fashion, but would it slip their mind if you said, "You can easily remember my phone number, 1492, the year Columbus discovered America"? The Australians, New Zealanders and Canadians who are reading these lines would of course substitute for 1776, 1861, 1865 significant dates in their own history. What is the best way to memorize the following dates? 1564, birth of Shakespeare. 1607, the first English settlement in America was made in Jamestown. 1819, the birth of Queen Victoria. 1807, the birth of Robert E. Lee. 1789, the Bastille was destroyed. You would doubtless find it tiresome to memorize, by sheer mechanical repetition, the names of the 13 original states in the order in which they entered the Union, but tie them together with a story, and the memorizing can be done with a fraction of the time and trying. Read the following paragraph just once, concentrate. When you have finished, see if you cannot name the 13 states in their correct order. One Saturday afternoon, a young lady from Delaware bought a ticket over the Pennsylvania Railroad for a little outing. She packed a New Jersey sweater in her suitcase and visited a friend, Georgia, in Connecticut. The next morning, the hostess and her visitor attended Mass in a church on Mary's Land. Then they took the South Car line home and dined on a new ham, which had been roasted by Virginia, the colored cook from New York. After dinner, they took the North Car line and rode to the Island. How to remember the points of your talk? There are only two ways by which we can possibly think of a thing. First, by means of an outside stimulus. Second, by association with the something already in the mind. Applied to speeches, that means just this. First, you can recall your points by file aid of some outside stimulus such as notes. But who like to see a speaker use notes? Second, you can remember your points by associating them with something already in the mind. They should be arranged in such a logical order that the first one leads inevitably to the second, and the second to the third as naturally as the door of one room leads into another. That sounds simple, but it may not prove so for the beginner whose thinking power are redundant. Bores be combat with fear. There is, however, a method of tying your points together that is easy, rapid, and all but foolproof. I refer to the use of a nonsense sentences. To illustrate, suppose you wish to discuss a veritable jumble of ideas, unassociated and hence hard to remember, such as, for example, cow, cigar, Napoleon, house, religion. Let us see if we cannot build those ideas like the link of a chain by means of this absurd sentence. The cow smoked a cigar and hooked Napoleon, and the house burned down with religion. Now, will you please cover the sentence above with your hand while you answer these questions? What is the third point in that talk? The fifth, fourth, second, and first. Does the method work? It does. And you, who are trying to improve your memory, are urged to use it. Any group of ideas can be linked together in some such fashion, and the more ridiculous the sentence used for the linking, the easier it will be to recall. What to do in case of complete breakdown? Let us suppose that, in spite of all her preparation and precaution, a speaker in the middle of her talk before a church group suddenly finds her mind a blank, suddenly finds herself staring at her hearers completely balked, unable to go on, a terrifying situation. Her pride rebels at sitting down in confusion and defeat. She feels that she might be able to think of her next point, of some point, if she had only 10-15 seconds of grace. But even 15 seconds of frantic silence before an audience would be little less than disastrous. What is to be done? When a certain well-known US senator recently found himself in this situation, he asked his audience if he were speaking loudly enough, if he could be heard distinctly in the back of the room. He knew that he was. He was not seeking information, he was seeking time, and in that momentary pause, he grasped his thoughts and proceeded. But perhaps the best lifesaver in such a mental hurricane is this: use the last word or phrase or idea in your last sentence for the beginning of a new sentence. This will make an endless chain that, like Tennyson's brook, and I regret to say, with as little purpose as Tennyson's brook, will run on forever. Let us see how it works in practice. Let us imagine that a speaker talking on business success finds himself in a blind mental alley after having said the average employee does not get ahead because he takes so little real interest in his work, displays so little initiative. Start a sentence with initiative. You will probably have no idea of what you are going to say or how you are going to end the sentence, but nevertheless begin. Even a poor showing is more to be desired than utter defeat. Initiative means originality, doing a thing on your own without internally waiting to be told. That is not a scintillating observation. It won't make speech history, but isn't it better than exoining silence? Our last phrase was what? Waiting to be told. Alright, let us start a new sentence with that idea. The constant telling and guiding and driving of employees who refuse to do any original thinking is one of the most exasperating things imaginable. Well, we got through that one. Let us plunge again. This time we must say something about imagination. Imagination, that is what is needed. Vision. Where there is no vision, Solomon said, the people perish. We did too that time without a hitch. Let us take heart and continue. The number of employees who perish each year in the battle of business is really lamentable. I say lamentable because with just a little more loyalty, a little more ambition, a little more enthusiasm, these same men and women might have lifted themselves over the line of the demarcation between success and failure. Yet the failure of business never admits that this is the case. And so on. While the speaker is saying these platitudes off the top of his mind, he should at the same time be thinking hard of the next point in his planned speech, of the thing he had originally intended to say. This endless chain method of thinking will, if continued very long, trap the speaker into discussing plum pudding or the price of canary birds. However, it is a splendid first aid to the injured mind broken down temporarily through forgetfulness. and as such it has become the means of resuscitating many a gasping and dying speech. We cannot improve our memories for all classes of things. I have pointed out in this chapter how we may improve our methods of getting vivid impressions, of repeating and of tying our facts together. But memory is so essentially a matter of association that there can be, as Professor James points out, no improvement of the general or elementary faculty of memory. There can only be improvement of our memory for spatial systems of associated things. By memorizing, for instance, a question a day from a Shakespeare, we may improve our memory for literary quotations to a surprising degree. Each additional quotation will find many friends in the mind to tie to, but the memorizing of everything from Hamlet to Romeo will not necessarily aid one in retaining facts about the cotton market or the Bessemer process for desiliconizing pig iron. Let us repeat. If we apply and use the principle discussed in this chapter, we will improve our manner and efficiency for memorizing anything. But if we do not apply these principles, then the memorizing of 10 million facts about a baseball will not help us in the slightest in memorizing facts about the stock market. Such unrelated data cannot be tied together. Our mind is essentially an associating machine. Here we complete our chapter 4. In next video, we will continue with chapter 5. Thank you so much for listening it, and I hope it is understandable to you. If you enjoy watching my videos, do like, subscribe and share with your family and friends. Thank you.